Hello, beautiful butterfly, and welcome back to Naturally Graceful. And if this is your first time, I'm Nina. Thank you so much for joining me on this series. If you haven't seen the first video where I talk about the realities of going gray, check it out. This week, we're going to go into the compassionate practices that you can apply when you are on your journey. The first one that we're going to cover in this video is surrender. Let it go. Let go of what? Being able to let go of what I can't control, and that is other people's perceptions, what other people will say. I realized how I was mixing other people's truth with mine. There's a way to be able to hear what other people have to say and then have an emotional boundary and be able to say, okay, I hear that for you, you think going gray means letting yourself go, or going gray means one looks old, or you think I look like somebody's grandmother, or I'm too young to go gray. Say that's what this person thinks, but how do I feel about it? For me, it's convenient. For me, it's freeing, and realizing that I can't change that person's mindset on it, and allow for someone else to have their version of their own truth. It doesn't mean that it's okay. You know how it feels when someone brings a viewpoint that's different. And the irony has been when I have let go of that, when I made the decision to just embrace what was happening, I started to get more and more comfortable. It didn't happen overnight. I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it that way and make it seem like once I made the decision, I didn't still have some insecurity that came along with it. But as on this side of things, I'm like, whew, in order to be compassionate to yourself, to take off some of the pressure of making a huge choice of going gray, remember that you're not going to be able to control what other people will think or say to you. What you can control is remembering your truth, remembering that what works for you is what works for you. And putting that imaginary line and boundary to allow for what other people will say without letting it come onto your side and now making you feel a certain way that is not your truth. When things are difficult and painful, acceptance makes it tolerable. That is one of the benefits of acceptance. Accepting that others may say things that hurt, accepting that I do worry about what people will say, accepting that it will take longer. Acceptance helps me to practice compassion. It helps me to check in with myself. Acceptance has helped me to learn that I can tolerate discomfort. In general, we always are looking for a way to avoid discomfort. The reality in this life, whether it's going on a hair journey or bigger things, there is pain, there is discomfort. And when you avoid it, you're just prolonging the inevitable. When you accept it and you face it head on, then you can find ways to cope. As they say, the only way out is through. When I pushed through the uncomfortability of the first month of growing inches of my new roots, and the uncomfortability that I felt when I looked at myself in the mirror, the shock that the gray brought, I'm getting old, I don't look attractive, I'd want to dye them automatically to deal with that discomfort. And it's so ironic to me because when I was not accepting it, I hated it and I was trying to avoid it. And when I let go of trying to change what was actually happening and I allowed it to come through, it's amazing how you're able to change your perspective on something that you once thought you did not want, become something that you love. We are very adaptable. There's a practice called mindfulness that I love. It's basically where you observe something without judgment. Gray hair is coming in. That's it. That's observing non-judgmentally. Observing it judgmentally would be, my gray hair is coming in. Oh my gosh, I'm old. I can't have this. This is horrible. That is a judgment. I gave myself time, because patience and acceptance also kind of go hand in hand. I saw a quote by David Allen that said that when you are patient, it's a calm acceptance of where you are and how that's different than what you had in mind. I love the way that that is described, because what you think you don't want, you might be a lot more pleasurable than you think if you allow it. So acceptance is about allowing, making room for it, embracing. And for some, not dyeing their hair may not be a choice that they wanted to make. Maybe they're allergic to all the dyes. They call gray hair resistant for a reason. My color did not always come out the way I would have liked. Now, would I love to go back to the times when I could color my hair the way I used to? Yeah. Another important part of acceptance is not only where you're at, but I notice Silver Sisters, they'll look back at the way that they used to color their hair with shame almost. And I don't think that's necessary. I don't think it's compassion. I think it might add more pain. You can just see that that was a time where you weren't ready for where you're at right now, or a time where you felt comfortable. You know, at that time, you didn't think the way you do now because your perspective was different. So I also think that it's important to compassionately accept where you were at that time with continuing to dye your hair, and just have an appreciation for where you're at now, that you could get past that point. But acceptance is definitely a compassionate way to look at things. So thank you so much for watching this week's video, and stay tuned for next week, where I'm going to go into more about contentment, especially when it comes to comparing. So let me know if you have reached that point of acceptance in your life. And any tips that you have for anybody who has an issue with that. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.